Susan Meers, who will tell you about staying in Dolgellau, Wales, where you can see so much within a 30-minute drive, including some of my relatives there. Hi, I too am Susan. Close? Okay. Close enough. And we had the trip of a lifetime. To be able to spend 7 weeks in Wales was definitely a lifetime dream. My DNA is 97% Welsh, so it's, for me, it really is going home, as it was for Susan. Leaving Anglesey was bittersweet. It was a wonderful 3 weeks there. We were now headed for the mountains of southern Snowdonia, and 3 weeks in the mountains in a wonderful little cottage in Dolgellau called Lys Cadwyn. Lys is the ancient Welsh word for court. It was a wonderful, we had a courtyard, but it was a cottage that had been 3 separate living spaces, and at some point had been all congregated into one. Very, very comfortable, very charming, and it was a great place to spend three weeks. Now, Dolgellau is an ancient medieval market town. As you can see, the buildings are mostly stone, and Sue and I, on a walk, had had a conversation with a stonemason who said that today only stone facades can be built in Dolgellau, so they are keeping to the original tone of the town. Some of the stone buildings in Dolgellau date back to the 1600s. I guess I have this now, right? Dolgellau, as you can see, is inland, and it's in the southern part of Snowdonia. From Dolgellau, we made many day trips, and I think the furthest we had to travel was an hour north in Snowdonia. But the countryside is so beautiful that no matter how far you had to travel, it wasn't a problem. This is Isospan. Isospan is today a wonderful eating place. The story is that this building dates back to the 1600s. It was a jail, and inside the original flags cover the floor. They're huge. They're like 5 by 5. On the first floor was the jail. Upstairs was the 16th century, what would it have been? It was 1600s courthouse. And both the first floor where we dined and the second floor, which is a dining room, are all true to the medieval time period. Okay. From the comfort of Lys Cadwyn, we were able to take day trips to the following tourist spots. I'm out of order here. Towyn, which you can see south of Barmouth, was about an hour, maybe 45 minutes away. It too is an ancient town. It's west on the coast, and here we visited St. Cadwyn's Church, which was founded as a class by St. Cadwyn in the 6th century. The church dates from the present church. I don't know whether we have a picture of it. Yes, dates from the 11th century. This church houses 2 very famous stones. One is the Cadwyn stone, and the other is a sundial. This is a picture of the sundial stone. Now, history has it that the sundial stone stood outside of the ancient class, and that it was the mass timepiece to call people to services. The Cadvan stone is the oldest known Welsh writing, and it's approximately the same size and is in 2 pieces, but it denotes burial sites. Okay. Tywyn is on the coast of Wales, as you can see there. And after we visited the church, we drove across town to a wonderful, improved beach area, and wonderful, well, Sue and I looked at it and thought, oh wow, wouldn't this be a wonderful place to spend vacation? The church at St. Cadvan's, my 2 times great-grandparents, Edward Roderick and Jane William, were married in this church in May of 1776. To put that into perspective, that's just less than a month after the American Revolution started. It was very moving for me to have the opportunity to visit there. Also, within that area is Barmouth, and further north is Harlech. And each of those places we visited is within 45-minute to an hour drive. I'm really selling Dolgellau here because I had never been there on my 5 previous trips to Wales, and having discovered it, it's a place where I will continue, hopefully, please, be able to get back to and stay, because it was a wonderful location. Alrighty. Let's see where I am here. This is Barmouth, and you can see the beautiful Welsh mountains. The photo on the left, you can see the railroad bridge that crosses the Madoc estuary, and this is the statue in Barmouth. Okay, here we are in Mahonquit. Now, Mahonquit is also an ancient market town, and it is the site of where Owen Glendower had his parliament in the early 1400s. Owen Glendower, I'm sure you all know here, was crowned Prince of Wales in 1404. This particular building is a more recent building than 1400. In fact, I think it was, the present building dates from 1559, really recent. On display here is the penal letter, or penal letter, which was sent by Owen Glendower to the King of France in 1406, requesting the French aid for his rebellion against the English rule. Help did not come. In my opinion, and it is strictly my opinion, Owen Glendower was a very prominent person in Welsh history, and it was a little disappointing that more attention wasn't paid to him in this town of Mahonquit. This is the building that houses the penal letter and tells the story of Old Windsor. The picture next to it is the town clock in the center, which would have been the ancient market area. So Mahoupa was just a little disappointing. It has so much potential, but it seems to have been lost upon the locals. Okay. Here you can see Dolgellau and the route north, the A470 up through Snowdonia. This is Harlech Castle, which is north of Dolgellau. Again, it's less than an hour travel time. The interesting thing about Harlech Castle, or interesting to me, is that when it was built in the 1200s, it was built on a rocky outcrop just inside the water, or outside the water. The water had actually came up to this location. Today, there is a large distance between the castle and the rocky outcrop and where the ocean is, and it's, among other things, a golf course. Kimmer Abbey. Kimmer Abbey was probably a 10 or 12-minute drive from Dolgellau. It is an early Cistercian abbey. The peaceful remains of this 12th century abbey we visited on one very beautiful morning. There you can see. We were fascinated. You can see the stonework. They used rubble to build the walls and then covered with, you can't call them finished rocks, but somewhat finished. It's amazing to sit there and ponder how in the 12th century men could have done this hard work. And it would have been hard work. We spent a wonderful morning there, had the place to ourselves. It was very, very peaceful and well worth the morning's trip. From there, we went to Castle-y-Bear. Now, Castle-y-Bear, I had read in a Welsh historical novel about Castle-y-Bear, and I thought it was a fictional castle until I discovered that we were very close to it. Again, it was within a half-an-hour drive up Dolgellau. The remains of Castle-y-Bear are on a very rocky outcropping, and getting up there was a mammoth task for both Sue and me.
Can we just pause a minute while Aiden's trying to leave?
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sue and I were both handicapped when we went to Wales. Sue has now had surgery and is no longer handicapped. I'm still dealing with a bum leg. But the climb up to Castle-y-Bear was a challenge, to say the least. When we got up to the top, it was well worth it. On the left, you have a picture of me sitting on one of the stone walls, overlooking the valley. The Decini River runs through here, and this valley runs, well, it's in Gwynedd, on the lower edge of Gwynedd, and at the foot of the mountain Cader Idris. It was built in 1221 by Llewellyn the Great, and it was built as an outpost and also to keep his cattle. This flat section here is where he kept his cattle, which at times could be up to 10,000 head. The saying is that in his time, Llewellyn was prince, cattle was king, and cattle could be used as currency. So at 10,000 head, Llewellyn the Great had considerable wealth. It was controlled by Owen as an important routeway running from the coast at Towan, which we saw, north through the mountains toward Dolgellau, and it protected the southern border of WSWNE, which was very important. There's a picture or a sketch of what Castle Yver would look like when it was built. And this is up on top of the rocky outcrop. And I have to say thank you to Sue because she saved my life as we were walking down. And my foot slipped, went backwards, and would have tumbled down the rocky outcrop had Sue not grabbed me. So thank you very much. Okay. This is probably the furthest afield that we went, and this is up through Snowdonia, and it's a very beautiful ride. We had met earlier Albert Lewis, who is the owner of this wonderful slate quarry, and he had invited us to come and see his workplace. We weren't disappointed. This is a very remote place, and it would appear it's at the top of the world. This is his slate quarry, and he gave us a wonderful description of the quarrying of slate and slate itself. Now you see on the left-hand side the orange in the slate, and that is the iron content that this slate has. This is part of the quarry on the right side here. And do we have another one? No. And we are way up on top of a mountain, and he uses large machinery, digs it out of the ground, and then in his business, he splits it, polishes it, finishes it, and he also installs interior and exterior slates. So this was a wonderful experience. I'm so glad to have had it. Because slate is such an important part of Wales and the Welsh economy. This is Cadair Idris, and Cadair Idris is the mountain that overlooks Dolgellau. It keeps its eye on everything that goes on. It was wonderful exploring this area. We had other trips. I can't remember the name of the lake where we were, but we got off the trail and met some interesting people going up into the mountains. It was a wonderful experience. And I leave you at Riverside Park in Dolgellau. This is an ancient tree that has been carved to remind us of our roots, which it did very, very well when Sue and I were there. You can see it was carved by Alan Mantle in 2013, and it's very impressive and quite tall. So that's it for my paid for this, but believe me, if you're going to Wales, I really would include Dolgellau and the area around it in your itinerary.